Hello, I'm Sam and welcome to my little art room in the northwest of England. If you've watched my videos before, you may notice a number of changes in this room. For one, the whole setup of the room has changed. My desk used to be in this direction, facing a window, and it is now here. So the window is facing me, if you can imagine it. This room is very, very small, and well, I mean, it's great, it's perfect for this, but it's been a bit difficult to deal with the size of it, and especially for filming. I haven't been wanting to film out the window because it very, very clearly shows the street that I live on and all my neighbours' houses and their cars and them going in and out their houses. So for everyone's safety and privacy, I obviously don't like to constantly video out my window. So it's always been a little bit annoying when filming to avoid that window, but particularly since starting YouTube, because obviously switching the view to this angle rather than portrait, there's even more stuff. It's even harder to avoid that view. So to cut a long story short, I decided to move the desk. This is quite a huge desk. It's a fantastic desk that I absolutely love. I actually got it off my neighbour, so it was an absolute fantastic stroke of luck. But yeah, it's a bit of a pain to move, and it just about can be turned around in this room without just getting stuck at the diagonal. So I moved everything around and I'm really liking it so far. But obviously the wall is a lot more empty than it has been in a while, although that was the case before I moved it as well. So visually it's not quite as exciting yet, but I don't want to rush to fill it up because I feel like sometimes you do that for the sake of it. Also, I've got a massive ET poster at the moment. I randomly bought that one day. I love ET, it's one of my favourite classic films. I don't say that meaning is it a classic? I don't know what categorises a classic, but I mean it's kind of one of my favourite nostalgic films from my childhood. And when I first put that poster up, I didn't like it, but then since I've moved the room, I actually think it looks a bit better, so I quite like it now. But yeah, I moved things around. We're also on a new camera with a new little microphone. The camera, another story that I will cut short. I thought for a very, very long time about getting a new camera. I'm someone, I really, really like to think about what I buy and whether I really, whether I really think there are reasons to buy it or not. So I put it off for a while and I tried to make my DSLR that I usually just use for photography. I tried to make that work as my video camera, but honestly, I was just finding it so hard. I was often getting things wrong, like the lighting, and honestly, it might sound silly, but when you're just doing so much other stuff all on your own, and you're having to learn everything from scratch and constantly trying to do the DIY version of everything and not spend too much money on things, or take shortcuts, then sometimes you just want something easy, even if it's not the absolute best solution that it possibly could be. You just want something that's easy to use, which is why I bought this little camera that I can just put on, talk to, film with, and go from there. So I think in the end it did make sense. So I'm going to show some clips of me putting some Halloween decorations up. The long and short of it is that there weren't as many as I thought, but again, maybe that's good for the spirit of let's not overconsume. And yeah, I really like Halloween, partly because I like that it's very different to every other kind of holiday in that it's not inherently happy. I know that sounds odd. I thought one thing I would do is put up a couple of prints that I made years ago when I was first being an artist, basically. And I had like, I even went by a different name, Blackbird and Brambles, to like sell cards mainly. I then decided I didn't like selling cards, and I've never sold one since. But I also have this one that looks like a ghost boy, and ghost dog. So I'm gonna put those up in a minute. So this is my my tarantula. Got this a few years ago, and I usually keep this over my bed to remind other spiders that I'm not a threat. Spoke to my soul, my cold dead soul. So what have I been working on recently? So I did actually make the second instalment of my serial comic, which is called Toast in the Machine, which is a, if you don't know, a soft sci-fi comic serial about a a robot and a human best friends, running a food truck. So I'm only on the second one, and again, through the whole camera situation, I actually lost basically just throughout the entire video where I showed the process of making that, because in all honesty, it was just worth going in the bin. So I haven't actually filmed the process of it at all, but let's talk through it a bit anyway. So I think I'm going to plan to put it on the screen, maybe like here. The story for the second one, again, when I'm making this, I'm having quite a haphazard approach. So my way of working is usually I have this piece of paper, I scribble down an idea, and then I just start making it. But the where this story is going, I vaguely know some elements of it, but I'm basically just taking it a step at a time and thinking I'll make it up as I go along. That's been my approach. So the second instalment was we'd got to the point where Joni and Tin have just like stopped in the road on their way to work in their van because they've seen somebody or something in the road, and it turns out to be a person on the road. And during this plot, basically during the second instalment, basically the actual things that happen are they get out of the car. Joni's like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And then Tin starts getting a bit worried because he's actually afraid of zombies. He has this thing where he's scared of zombies, so anything that makes him think of that, he's frightened and he pulls back. So he runs away a bit. Joni's like, "For goodness sake, come on." But then this person actually does like wake up quite scarily, and they're kind of like, they reveal basically that they're absolutely exhausted and that's why they've started sleeping in the street. They have a bit of like a funny encounter, and then Joni also notes that this person works at the lab, which is something that's going to be elaborated on later. But there's this element of a local lab that does who knows what, we don't know yet. And then Tin is like, okay, fine, this person's clearly a human that's alive. And they say, okay, let's get you in our van, we'll help you. And Joni's a bit annoyed at Tin because he's been so unhelpful. And then she's kind of basically just a bit flustered, like, okay, we've got to go to work now and I've got this random person in the car who's asleep and don't know what to do. And that's kind of the plot. So off they go. And I know that the next instalment, they're going to now be at work. I'm not going to keep dragging on I don't want it to feel really slow in terms of like 3 issues and we've still not even got to work. Yeah, this one was actually 5 pages this time. So it was surprising how much more work that actually felt like in practice. Although in some ways, because I'd done the previous installment, I did have more like stuff to go on. And there is, I have to admit, even though I love traditional media and I love drawing in pencil, there is good stuff about digital work, like the fact that I can look at a reference from a previous panel, I can have it underneath to trace from or to just make things a bit easier. And I have to admit, for comics, I am seeing that it definitely helps to streamline the process and make it a little bit quicker. Now, arguably, some people would say speed is not what it's about, X, Y, Z, but I actually think it really depends what you're trying to achieve and what you're doing, because, don't get me wrong, I think It's always more important what you're doing, you know, how it looks, all these kind of things. And you shouldn't rush, you know, you should never feel like you have to rush. But I have to admit, I think there is an argument for, like, if you want to tell a story, some people may be happy to spend 10 years on a story, but I am not one of those people. I just don't think I have too many ideas and too much that I want to do. I don't want to rush. That's not the case. But I know that I don't want to overthink an idea for like 6 years or spend so long on it that I don't even remember why I'm doing it. I don't know. It's just different ways of working for different people. I think I'm just someone that I don't want to, I don't want to work on something for years and years and years before I ever even show any of it to the world, you know? So, yeah. I mean, if I were to psychoanalyze that, I'd say, yeah, there's a part of me that, you know, you feel an urgency, I think, in the way the world is, especially now. I think people have always felt some sense of urgency, because just that, you know, life feels, you know, it has an end point for everyone. But I think now we maybe feel even more like urgent to like do something that could comfort someone or help someone or just do something than ever, you know. So yeah, even though I sometimes, like, I was making this and I was getting in my head and I was thinking this isn't that good and my skill's still low and I still hardly know what I'm doing. And yet at the same time, I know that I'd rather put it out in the world than leave it in my head. So yeah. Overall, there's some panels of this that I really liked. I love the one where they're looking over at the person. And I added those twee birds, as they call them. There's this show called Landscape Artist of the Year, and there's also Portrait Artist, but it's a landscape artist where people paint landscapes and compete. So one of the judges on that, he often makes a comment of like, oh, twee birds, I hate birds in the sky in these pictures. So I actually do it out of like spite. Plus I also think comic artists, we can get away with anything. That's my opinion. But my friend was like the other day, she was like, oh yeah, the child, you know, the birds you do when you're a kid. And I was like, yeah, still do them. They work. What's the problem? I was quite pleased with the panels near the end where all three of them are kind of in shot, so to speak. Because, you know, there was a time when drawing two people at once was like almost impossible for me, like really, really challenging. I really do have to remind myself that I honestly could not draw at all 5 years ago. I literally started from scratch with this, so I think I sometimes need to give myself time and patience. I think I'm pretty patient with myself. I've learned to be like that, but I think I need to do it even more. So yeah, that's Toasting the Machine up till now. Pleased with it. So I just wanted to sign off this video because I actually took more footage than this, but I realised this is already like 15 minutes long, so I've decided to split up the footage and make a separate video where I was mainly talking about like ideas and ideas generation, that kind of thing. So that's what the next video will probably be mainly about. So yeah, so as for this video, thank you for watching it, and you can read my comic Toasting the Machine on my website. I have a little tab that says read Toasting the Machine, and it's just a bit clearer to see on there, although of course you can read it on my TikTok, on my Instagram. I mostly post on there social media wise, so they're good places to follow, particularly TikTok, only because Instagram tires me out. Yeah, also on that website you can actually find some digital downloads. I only actually have one on there at the moment saying that. It's just my I Dream of Dogs zine, but I hope to put some more stuff on there. The idea behind that was like making stuff available for free, but maybe also suggesting some charity donations, which I have below. So I don't know if anyone will ever do it, but you know, it's there if you're interested. I also do have some links to GoFundMe's in my link tree. I try and think a lot about how, as an artist, I can like use the tools that I've got, you know, to hopefully contribute to making the world a bit less horrible. But you know, it's a work in progress. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Once again, if you have any advice, questions, videos you'd like to see, I'm really, really interested in what you have to say. I so appreciate everyone who's subscribed so far. I do apologise, it's been a full 2 months since I posted last time. Part of the reason that I'm posting these things now is because I'm trying to post even if I don't have that much that I've physically made yet, or like a process to share, because, you know, at the end of the day, like as an artist, you're not always physically making a project. Sometimes you're just thinking about it, sometimes you're just sketching about, like, so if I keep waiting until I have some amazing thing to show, we're never going to have videos. So I want to be more consistent rather than expect to have fantastic things all the time. And ultimately, if you don't want to watch the videos, you won't watch them, and that's absolutely fine. So yes, I hope I haven't bored you to tears, and hopefully I will see you next time in my little art room where you are always welcome. Thank you so much. Goodbye.